Hi everyone, welcome. Today we are going to do a short deep stretch, otherwise known as yin, sequence for the hips. This is a really great one if you're experiencing any tension, discomfort, tightness, even pain in your hips or even your low back, because oftentimes tightness in our hips affects our low back. If you've been sitting a lot lately, driving, or are doing physical activities that are bringing in tightness into the hips, good one for you. It'll be relatively quick. Oftentimes in yin classes, we hold postures for 3 to 5 minutes, but I recognize we don't always have that kind of time to do a full, true yin-based sequence. So today we're going to hold things more like 1 to 2, sometimes 3 minutes, because I believe something is better than nothing. And so if you only have about 20 or so minutes, this is a great sequence to you to just bring some love, some space, some openness into the hips. So we'll start in child's pose. Taking the knees a little wider in your child's pose will give you more sensation into the inner thighs. If you are experiencing low back pain, bringing the knees together will be more supportive on your low back. So sort of play around in this first child's pose. We won't be here super long. It's just a nice pose to start and turn inward as you take your head down to the ground or stack your head on your forearms. If you've got a pillow or a blanket, you could also rest your head on a blanket. I like to rock across my forehead a few times, almost just like rocking out the thoughts of my mind, and settling into the center, letting that third eye rest heavy. And from here, tuning in to my breath. Deep stretch in, it's a very mindful practice. There's a lot of holding. And in that space of holding, where we're not moving like we do in a flow-based practice, there's a lot that can arise. It could be thoughts, it could be emotions, it could be sensations. We really want to give space for whatever needs to arise without getting too caught up in it. Our breath becomes a tool to help us not get caught up in whatever narrative we might be bringing into our mind about what we're feeling or experiencing. But rather notice what we're experiencing and then keep returning back to this deep breath. Complete inhales. Full exhales. Creating almost like background music that's so soothing and calming through your breath. And just slowly start to walk your hands back towards your body and rise up toward an all-fours position, but simply to transition down onto our stomachs. We'll come into our first yin posture, half frog. So it doesn't matter what leg you start with, we'll do both legs. I'm going to start with my left leg here. Taking left leg out to the side, knees ideally in line with the hip, give or take, toes pointed out to the left side of the room in this case. And then turning back, you can rest your head or your cheek on the mat. I like to create a pillow with my forearms. Just let the weight of your body fall heavy toward the ground. That weight helping to open space into the inner thigh. Coming into that deep breath. Noticing whatever might arise, but again, not getting caught up in it, not creating narrative around it. Learning to be with what is without creating those stories in our minds. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and the guy said mental chatter is fake news. Basically, a lot of that chatter in our minds, it's not based on truth. It's just stories we make up, assumptions that we might make, or different perceptions that we create. And if we just know that about ourselves, I think it makes it easier to navigate the mental chatter. It's not going to go away. But at least we understand how it works. Maybe we click unsubscribe to some of it. Take a few more breaths here. And then just slowly ease your way out as you straighten the left leg, back in line with the right leg. Just take a moment in the center, not rushing into the other side. Letting the body enjoy a breath or two in a neutral position. And then bending at the right knee or the other knee, the opposite knee. Bringing the knee in line with the hip, give or take. Letting the inside of the foot rest on the ground as the toes point out. Resting the head or the cheek on the ground. Being with your breath. Noticing. One of the most important parts of the Yin practice is stillness, learning to be still even in the midst of discomfort. So when you feel that urge to fidget, to move, I invite you to take a few additional breaths so that you can see if that movement is really something necessary based upon what your body is communicating to you. Or if that movement is simply part of a habit pattern to avoid discomfort. Take a few more deep breaths here. And then start to straighten. Right leg back behind you. Take a breath or two in a neutral position. And then place hands under shoulders. Come up to all fours, tabletop. You might take a few rounds of cows and cats here, just to give the spine a little movement, some warmth. I like to rinse out any tension in the back of the neck. And then we'll come to downward facing dog. From down dog, step your right foot forward. Drop your left knee down. So half split pose here, straightening out the right leg. So in Yin, we are only going about 70% of maybe where we would go in a normal flow or power class, because we're here longer and we want it to be sustainable. And even though we're not here super long today, maybe you find that 80% point. So you're not right at your edge, you're slightly behind your edge. Softening as much as you can through the entire back side of the right leg. Letting your head drop heavy. Tuning into the breath. Tight hamstrings are very common just with our patterns of, sitting a lot for our jobs and driving. Even common in athletes who are really strong in their legs, but maybe not as flexible in their muscles. So know that sensation is just information. It's not good or bad. You don't have good hamstrings or bad hamstrings. Sensation is like, the body giving us some information on our boundaries. What's possible for us, what's too much, what could hurt us, what could injure us. If we don't create that narrative around it, if we don't succumb to any mental chatter like that about our bodies being good or bad or flexible, not flexible, just clear the space for us to care for our bodies in the way that our bodies are craving to be cared for. The only way we know how our bodies want to be cared for is through the language our bodies speak to us. And so let's become good listeners of our body. A few more deep breaths. Very slowly start to shift forward, very, very, very slowly. These poses are a little bit more difficult to get out of the longer we hold them. So switching into what's called lizard in our yang practice, or dragon in yin practice. So we'll bring both hands to the inside of the right foot. There's a lot of different variations on this, and so if you're really seeking that quad hip flexor stretch, you might stay like this or drop down to a forearm or two. If you want to add in more of an inner thigh stretch to expand upon what we did in our half frog, you can heel toe the right foot out and roll onto the outside edge of the foot, perhaps using that right hand to guide the right knee out to the right. Remember, we're only looking for about 70 to 80% of where we might go normally. So find that right place for you. And then challenge yourself to be still. You might think of every exhale as a chance to clear and cleanse any tightness, tension you're feeling. Every inhale, a chance to breathe in new space, nutrients. A few more deep breaths. And start to lift back up to straight arms if you're not there. Again, move so slow. Heel toeing, right foot across to the left edge of the mat, laying the shin bone down for what's called swan and yin or pigeon. And our flow classes. Again, 70 to 80%, a lot of that is driven by the angle of this front knee, taking the toes out more toward the front of the mat, widening that angle will deepen the stretch. Pulling the heel in closer toward the left hip will ease up the stretch. So find that 70 to 80% mark. And then when, or if you're ready, you can drop down. The forearms are all the way down to the ground. Check in with the forehead. Is it relaxed? The jaw, is it unhinged? The tongue, is it softly falling away from the roof of your mouth? The shoulders, are they relaxed? You drop your head even heavier. Our body is all connected, so when we hold tightness and tension in one area, it can affect other areas. We're basically housed in a sheath of tissue, myofascial tissue. It's like an interconnected web holding our musculature, our bones all together. A lot of the tension, the tightness builds up in this tissue. Tightness in one area pulls on other areas. It affects us. So even if you're feeling a lot of sensation in the hips, see if you can relax and release into other areas so that you can create some slack in the rest of your body. That slack, giving the hips a little more room and space to work out their stuff. Take a few more deep breaths. And just very slow, make your way to downward facing dog. If there's a few small movements you want to add in there, maybe that three-legged dog with a hip opener, or maybe just pedaling out the legs a few times once you do make it to downward facing dog. And then when you're ready, second side step, left foot forward, drop right knee down into that half split. Finding your 70 to 80% effort. And then releasing, relaxing wherever you can. This is a great one if you happen to have blocks at home or thick books, to place your hands on blocks. Bring the floor a little closer. That helps bring some ease into the upper body. Even in the flexing of the left foot, make that 70 to 80% or maybe less. A little less active. And we're only here for a few breaths. But we create something sustainable for many breaths. Being mindful of the tendency to want to fidget or move, and taking a few deep breaths when that happens to see if it's necessary or if it's just a tendency, a habit, pattern creeping up, so that You don't have to address tension. A few more breaths. Slowly ease your way out, bending into left knee, flattening the foot, bringing the left hand to the inside of the left foot. Stay here with, the left foot about in line with the left hip, or if you want to walk the left foot opening into the inner thigh, that's an option for you. So sort of play the first few breaths to find that sensation that feels right in your body, that feels like it's doing the work you need. Stopping at that 70 to 80% mark, and then settling into stillness. We practice stillness in this type of yoga. We also practice staying power. Staying through the discomfort, utilizing the power of our breath and our mental focus to build that muscle of resilience, of perseverance. And we strengthen those when we get into uncomfortable situations in the rest of our lives. They might not feel as bad or as trying, as tedious, because we worked on this stuff on our mats. We worked on staying there in the midst of discomfort. We're not fleeing, we're not running away, we're not avoiding, we're not sweeping things under the rug. We're literally sitting in them, with them. Imagine the type of partner and parent and employee, boss that you become when you can really sit and stay in those uncomfortable situations, conversations. You can be calm and present, passionate, supportive. Take a few more deep breaths. Come up to straight arms. You've lowered down. Transitioning into our swan or pigeon. Heel toeing left foot slowly across the mat, laying the shin bone down, checking in with that angle in the front knee. Moderate sensation here in the outer left hip, not too much, not too little. Once you find that right place for you, go ahead and settle in. Relaxing the forehead, the eyelids, your cheekbones, your jaw, your tongue, your neck, your shoulders. Letting your head be heavy. Staying with that breath. Take a few more deep breaths. Be all in. transition. So slow. Heading back through downward facing dog, taking any of those small movements you need, you want. And then dropping the knees down to the mat. We've got one more pose before we take a little final rest. And let's butterfly on our back. So just grab behind your thighs, lie all the way down on your spine. Bring the soles of the feet together. If you want something a little more easeful, you might try walking the soles out a little further away from the body. And sort of play with that distance from the heels to the sitting bones. And then just let gravity do a lot of the work here for you. As the knees drop heavy, you let your mat or the floor underneath of you support your back. You might place a hand on the belly and a hand on the heart to connect deeper to the sensations of your inhales and your exhales. You know that if this pose is really uncomfortable for you, great option is to place something underneath of the knees, just to bring support to your knees. It could be a stack of books or a pillow on either side, a couch cushion, a stack of couch pillows. See if you can slip into really peaceful place here. Giving our nervous system a chance to spend some time and rest and digest. That place where it brings our body back into balance, it heals, it recovers, it rejuvenates. Working its magic, its infinite wisdom to do everything it can to bring us back into homeostasis, to bring us back into balance, to regulate us. This position feels really nice in your body and you'd like to take our final relaxation here, by all means stay. Otherwise, slowly, one leg at a time, extend your legs long. Let your hips remain open, the feet flaring out. You can keep your hands on your belly, your heart, or relax the arms by your sides. Letting all of the work of your deep stretching and your staying power sink deep into your bones. The body really soaking in all of this ease. The mind soaking in this state of calm. The heart, the spirit soaking in this quality of peace. Stay here for as long as you like or for as long as you need. Absolutely no rush. To end your practice, to end this time of peace, of ease. When and if you're ready, start to bring just small little movements into the body, waking the physical body back up. Extending your arms over your head, taking a bigger movement, a full body stretch. Bringing your knees toward your chest. Take the knees in circles in one direction and the other direction. And then eventually roll off to one side, a fetal position. And from here, press up to a seated position. Taking a moment to sit tall, to feel strong and healthy, grounded and balanced in your body and in your mind. Let's draw our hands to our heart, taking a moment of gratitude for ourselves for dedicating this wonderful time to nourishing our body, to opening it up, to stretching it out, to releasing some of that mental chatter and that physical tension. Truly, what a great gift you give yourself and really to everyone around you. I thank you for joining me today. Namaste.